This is Twit.
Samsung revealed some unexpected future mobile and wearable plans yesterday. The company is unique in the wearables industry because it makes not one, but 4 different smartwatches. Yesterday, Reuters learned that the company will also come out with a 5th smartwatch, this time supporting Google's Android Wear platform. We also found out that Samsung plans 2 Tizen smartphones for some reason. With us to explain all this is Vlad Savov, a senior reporter for The Verge. Welcome, Vlad.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So why do you think Samsung would want to offer 5 smartwatches based on 4 software platforms? Isn't that a bit much?
Well, technically, I don't think it's quite 5 smartwatches. The Gear Fit, which uses a custom operating system, is really a smart band. It's a fitness band and tries to do something slightly different from smartwatches. Smartwatches tend to be a bit more functional and a bit more fully featured than the Gear Fit. So we can kind of set that one aside and say that's Samsung's effort for the fitness market. But in terms of smartwatches, Samsung already tried to do an Android smartwatch. That was the original Galaxy Gear, which was announced and released late last year. It really didn't do well. It had a whole bunch of limitations, a whole bunch of failures, frankly. Samsung put a camera in the wristband itself, which made the wristband non-replaceable. So it came back this year. It came back with its own Tizen OS, its open source software, and it tried to do better. It tried to improve on things. And it did to some extent with the Gear 2 and Gear 2 Neo, but they haven't been massive improvements over the original Galaxy Gear. So really and truly, the company isn't so much offering a great variety of smartwatches as it is trying to find its way and trying to find the right smartwatch.
It's interesting that you make a strong distinction between the smartwatch and the smart band. I think a lot of people in the industry don't make that distinction. If something is lashed to your wrist and is smart in some way, connects to a smartphone or whatever, or does anything that's intelligent, has chips inside of it, they call it a smartwatch. So that's an interesting distinction, and I think it's an important one because there is a huge difference between the bracelet-style devices and the wristwatch-style devices. So I appreciate that. But before we get into what
Mike, one point on that. I'm sorry, excuse me.
Sure, jump in there.
Just one thought, because I actually wrote a story on this for CNET last week, and the researchers are now saying, look, there are 3 different types of smart devices out there. There are those so-called, dumb devices, like the Nike stuff and the Jawbone Up and all that stuff. And then there are the slightly more sophisticated devices like the Gear and maybe the Pebble. And then we have the Google Glass and products like that. And so what these analysts are saying is, over the next couple of years, we're going to see these so-called lower end or less sophisticated devices drive much of the wearables market. But over time, it's going to be those more sophisticated products like Google Glass and like whatever else might be coming along that are ultimately going to drive this marketplace. So I think it's interesting that I think even the analysts, even the researchers are saying we have to draw those distinctions because they are different. They're serving a different market, and maybe they're serving a different purpose for a lot of people.
Absolutely, and I think they're not just distinctions to be drawn between different wrist-based devices, but also the whole wearables world has multiple different categories that we're going to be seeing. Built into clothing, things with no screens. There's lots of things coming out that we're going to have to come up with and coin new terms to describe them and basically explain what the heck they are and what the heck they do. So Vlad Savov, now you also wrote about the whole announcement thing, and they're coming out with this. They keep pushing this Tizen operating system, which is a curious thing, and I tend to think that this might be kind of hedging their bets, kind of giving them a bargaining position, but just about everybody else besides Samsung is rejecting this platform. For example, NTT Docomo recently dropped Tizen. They had announced Tizen phones coming out and then said, you know what, never mind. And here Samsung is embracing it, coming out with 2 new phones apparently, and also they still have it in a couple of their current existing watches. It seems to me that for smartwatches, for example, the Android Wear platform is probably the way to go, and for smartphones, clearly Android is the way to go for Samsung. Why do you think they keep pushing Tizen?
Well, I believe it's exactly what you just said. It's an alternative. And if you actually look at Tizen's promotional materials, they're not really consumer-centric. The first thing that Tizen says is, We're an open source operating system. We're giving variety, diversity of choice to carriers. So that's the big pitch. They're talking to mobile operators, to carriers. And I guess, I don't know how strong of a bargaining chip it is, but when you go to speak with Google, it is good to be able to say, well, we have our own software that we can move to. And we have this massive audience of people, massive customer base who already own Galaxy devices, and we can pull those away from Android. Like I say, I don't know
think
how
Google cares.
right, I don't know
I
how
don't think
much
Google
Google is
cares
going to
because
credit that.
well, at the end of the day, Samsung needed to cross-license certain aspects of Android with Tizen. So Google's saying, look, guys, if you do what you got to do. If you want Tizen, go with Tizen all day long, but we're still going to get a piece of the action here. So I don't know how much Google really cares anyway. I mean, it's Tizen, Android, go do what you got to do, but we're going to get a piece of the action anyway. And I think that's the secret sauce here for Google. It's and Microsoft, mind you, because Microsoft, when you use an Android device, you're paying Microsoft too. So the secret sauce here is in the licensing. It's in the ability for all these companies to make money in ancillary ways, regardless of what they're doing. It's an interesting thing, and I think it's something that we're going to see more and more. And I think that really reduces Samsung's bargaining chip, no matter what it is, with Google, because they're saying, look, you guys, if you want to go out and be the Tizen guys, fine, but we're still going to generate a little bit of revenue off that.
Absolutely, and just to add, the Tizen proposition has been going on for a long time. And the amusing thing about today's news is that you could rewind back a year and you could say exactly the same thing for Samsung's roadmap. Samsung, this time last year, was being speculated that it would introduce an Android smartwatch, and Samsung itself promised that it would have a high-end Tizen smartphone for 2013. So now the company is essentially going through one of those matrix revolutions where it just does the exact same thing. It's just the difference now is that maybe a Tizen phone will happen. It was intended to initially come out in 2013 with NT Docomo that you guys mentioned, and Orange in France, I believe. That didn't happen. It might happen this year. And the big difference to me on the Android side is that the Galaxy Gear taught Samsung a lot of hard lessons, and Android Wear is a customized version of Android and has a much bigger take-up of companies and much more promise than we had last year.